Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble! I'm back! Miss me?
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special Halloween episode of WrestleRant Radio here today. I'm your host with the most, Bleacher Report featured columnist, Graham GSM Matthews. We are here on WrestleRant Radio, joined by my co-host, RJ. How's it going tonight, RJ?
Doing good tonight, Graham.
Awesome. So tonight we have a special interview here tonight with former NECW Northeast Championship Wrestling. I'm sorry about that. We've got Sean Burke here on the line, and we've been waiting a while to get him on the show. Happy to finally have it come to fruition. Sean, how's it going tonight?
Going pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing good, doing good. So I've been a fan of your work for the last year or so, having with NECW being on. It was over here at the Cove Community Center here in Beverly for a while before you guys started going over to Everett. But I got a chance to talk to you at the last show that you guys did in Everett not too long ago, earlier this month. So that was pretty cool. But just a few basic questions for you. Obviously, the very cliche question that you probably get asked all the time. Where did your interest in professional wrestling start? How did you get into professional wrestling? What kind of motivated you to choose this career path?
I actually just got asked that question a couple of nights ago by somebody.
There you go.
I was 6 years old. SummerSlam 1990. My grandfather liked Hulk Hogan, so he ordered that for me on pay-per-view. And it was Hulk Hogan versus Earthquake and the Ultimate Warrior versus Ravishing Rick Rude in a steel cage for the double main event. And I just from that night on, I was hooked. And I used to, I remember my great aunt used to get mad at me. She used to tell me that when I grew up, I needed to be an astronaut or a lawyer or something like that. And I always told her I wanted to be a wrestler. So it all started there.
So what kind of pursued you to choose a career path of being a wrestler? Like, what was that one turning point that said, I want to do this for the rest of my life?
I played football my whole life. Played all the way through college. I played Division II, but I just wasn't good enough to go any further. And I kind of always had this idea in my head that if I ever had a chance to play in the NFL, certainly I would have done that. But at some point, I would come back and do like a Steve McMichael type of deal or a Kevin Green, and get involved in wrestling in some way, shape, or form or another. So when I realized that football just wasn't going to cut it for me, I just didn't have the right skill set to make it there. I said, well, I guess I'm all in, and I'm going to hop into wrestling and see if I have what it takes to do something in that sport, business, whatever you want to call it.
So do you live over here in the Massachusetts area, or do you reside elsewhere in the Northeast?
No, Massachusetts. The western part of Massachusetts.
What school did you train at?
Antonio Thomas, who, if you've been to the NECW shows, I know you've probably seen him wrestle a couple of times. He has a school in Palmer, Mass. And obviously, he comes with a lot of credentials and whatnot. So he is the guy that has done most of my training for me. Obviously, I've got a couple other places here and there and kind of gotten involved with some other trainers. But he's been kind of my main trainer.
So you mentioned before Antonio Thomas, a fellow wrestler from Northeast Championship Wrestling. You guys have a lot of history in that organization, facing off for the NECW World Heavyweight Championship on a number of occasions. But, of course, going back to the topic at hand here, NECW, where did that relationship kind of kick off? Where did you first started to get involved with NECW?
I'd probably been wrestling for a year and a half or something like that. And I had, been doing a lot of stuff with some other New England companies, and I think they saw me at a Chaotic Wrestling show, and I just got a call from the booker one day saying they would like you to come in if you're available on whatever date it was, and I went and did that show, and they seemed to like me, and they booked me ever since.
So in recent memory, too, from the shows that I've been to in the last year, you were embarking on a very lengthy undefeated streak of never being pinned in singles competition. Did the idea originate from somewhere? Or were you already undefeated and they just kind of saw you winning so many matches and just kind of just stick with it and having you win the championship? Do you know where that idea kind of originated from?
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of took off. I was undefeated for a while. I broke my ankle about 2.5 years into my career, and I had probably been there for about a year and a half at that point. I broke my ankle and I went away for a while, so there was about 6 months there where I didn't have any matches, so that continued my undefeated streak, so to say. And then finally when I came back, they decided to I came back as a bad guy, and I won that title again for the second time, and it just kind of took off. I don't know, it didn't really. I think it lasted for about 3 years. I think finally Slick Wagner Brown beat me, so. Just kind of took off. It wasn't. I don't think it was anything that anybody specifically had in mind. It just kind of happened that way.
So with that being said, what went through your mind when you first won that World Heavyweight Championship? Because that's something that anyone that aspires to be a pro wrestler is always thinking about. So when you first won that World Heavyweight Championship a number of years ago, what went through your mind when that first happened?
It was pretty cool. When I was told that was going to happen, I think that was probably more exciting than when it actually happened. Just kind of getting that notice out of the blue that hey, next month you're gonna win that belt.
Mm-hmm.
It was very cool. I won it in a tournament the first time, so I went through. I think there's only 2 matches I had to go through that night, but I won it in the tournament. I want to say like Blackstone, Mass, or something like that. It was very cool. It was a very fun night. They have it up on their video vault somewhere, so I got to go back and watch it a couple of times. It was very cool.
So, like you just said before, you came back from your injury as a heel. And the year that I've been watching NECW on YouTube and going to all the shows and whatnot, you were easily one of the best heels they had at their disposal, along with Jeremy Prophet, who you also have history with in the organization. And you went on to become a great heel for that organization before recently turning babyface. So I got to ask you this question. Do you prefer being a babyface over a heel or vice versa? Like, which one do you have more fun doing?
It's funny. I think I usually say I like being a heel better, mm-hmm. and I think not that I don't think I'm really a mean person or anything like that, but I think for whatever reason I think it's a lot easier to be kind of a jerk than it is to be a nice guy, especially in a wrestling context. But recently I've been a babyface a lot of places, and I'm really starting to get used to that. I'm really starting to feel my flow there. So I don't know if I really know the answer anymore. I'm very comfortable doing both of them at this time.
So in the last couple of years that you've been with NECW, you've had great matches with the likes of Antonio the Promise Thomas, Slick Wagner Brown, like we just said before, Jeremy Prophet just recently. So in all the years that you've been wrestling, who's been your favorite opponent to work with?
That's actually a good one. I think I have probably 3. You mentioned Antonio Thomas, and obviously that's always really cool when I get to wrestle him. Obviously him being my trainer and everything, we get a lot of chemistry, and we just kind of have an idea of what each other are going to do without even really saying anything. But another guy that you're probably familiar with that I love getting in the ring with is Warbeard Hansen from Ring of Honor, who I've had a number of matches with in Chaotic Wrestling. He's certainly one of my favorite guys to get in there with. We have, I think, fantastic chemistry. And another guy is Brian Malonis, who I've also at Chaotic wrestled against a number of times. There are a lot of chemistry with any of those 3 guys, I think, and always put out good matches. I'm always very happy with how those matches turn out. Always excited when I see my name on the card next to any of them.
Is there anyone right now in the pro wrestling scene, anyone on the indies, from NECW, Chaotic Wrestling, anywhere basically, that you have yet to work with, that you have a desire to work with?
Yeah, Tommaso Ciampa. Certainly, the guy that I've crossed paths with a number of times, but I've never actually been in the ring with. I actually just was talking to somebody about that the other night, that I'd love to have a chance to get in there with him. Matt Taven, too. I've wrestled Matt Taven once, but it was very, very, very early on in my career. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get another chance in the ring with him at some point now, where I think I'm a lot better than I was back then. I think we're both at different stages in our career now, so I think those are the 2 guys that, as far as the indie scene is concerned, those are the 2 guys that I think about that I definitely like to get either back in the ring with or in the ring with for the first time.
And in terms of dream matches, who on the wrestling scene, whether they be alive now, passed away, whatever, who would you have liked to work with, say in like the main event of WrestleMania, so to speak? Say, who's your dream opponent?
Oh, man. So I could go for about 15 minutes on this one. It's going to be a number of people.
Go right ahead.
I think, Hulk Hogan was always my favorite wrestler growing up. So obviously, just being in the ring with him in any shape or form would be a dream come true. So So that honestly would probably be number one. I think number two would be The Undertaker, because who wouldn't want to wrestle The Undertaker, and just what you could possibly learn from that match, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then number three, Bruiser Brody. I'm a huge Bruiser Brody fan. You know, I don't think I was ever a fan of, you know, real hardcore deathmatch kind of wrestling or anything like that. But the physicality and the things like that, the Brody, you know, some of the stuff he did with that duel with the Butcher I probably wouldn't want to do some of that stuff. But just the physicality and stuff that everything he did looked real, looked like he was really out there trying to kill somebody. So that is the kind of guy I'd love to, you know, work with, because I just think I love wrestling that looks real. I feel like everything he did looked real.
Kind of an off-topic question, but you mentioned Bruiser Brody, obviously a very underrated talent in my opinion. But with that being said, though, a lot of people have recently called Luke Harper of the Wyatt family the second coming of Bruiser Brody, and no one's ever going to be the second coming of this guy, the next Shawn Michaels. They're going to be the first whoever, like the first Luke Harper. So you mentioned Bruiser Brody and being a big fan of him. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that real quick. Do you see Luke Harper being somewhat of a new Bruiser Brody for the WWE?
Yeah, I think he's probably, you know, there was some things that were very, very unique about Brody, from the way he looked to the way he moved, and you know, you think about the furry boots and the beard and the hair and everything, and I think that's stuff that if you tried to really be kind of a carbon copy of Bruiser Brody, you'd really just be a ripoff. I think Luke Harper is probably as close as you're going to get to that, you know, to that type of character at this point, without blatantly kind of stealing from it. So yeah, I really do. I like watching Luke Harper. Obviously, you know, he's not the, you know, Bray Wyatt gets more of the TV time and stuff like that, so I don't have as much of a chance to watch him in the bigger matches or anything like that. But everything I've watched with him, I'm definitely a fan, and I definitely don't change the channel when he comes on. I definitely leave it on and see what's going to happen. So.
And speaking of the WWE, you're a guy that I look at, and it really seems like you fit the mold of what WWE would be looking for. You've got the size, you've got the look, you've got the in-ring skills, the mic skills. Have you really pursued to try to land a tryout with them, or do you have any interest in working for the WWE or TNA for that matter, any major wrestling organization, I guess? Yeah,
of course I do, and I have been in front of WWE a couple of times. Nothing major has happened. But obviously, I'm still pursuing that. I mean, I think anybody that gets into the wrestling business, certainly that should be your goal. And I think if they're telling you that that's not their goal, they're probably lying to you,
yep.
Or they probably became disillusioned somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously, yes, WWE is goal number one. But you know, there are TNA certainly. I don't know what the situation is with the company. You're hearing all kinds of things about what's going on there.
Yep.
But other things like Japan, getting an opportunity in New Japan or something like that would absolutely be a dream come true. Even being able to go down to Puerto Rico or something like that would also be very cool. So there are a lot of options out there. Nothing as big as WWE, nothing with the same level of notoriety, but certainly any of those things, Ring of Honor, even any of those things, you know, certainly be something I'm definitely shooting for.
So aside from accomplishing that big goal of working for the WWE at one point, what other goals and aspirations do you currently have? Do you have a goal to win this championship, or I want to work with this guy at one point? Do you have any other current goals or aspirations at the moment?
I mean, I think certainly, like I said, New Japan, definitely, that's definitely something. It's just hard to get over there. It's hard to get them to see you. As far as guys that I'd love to work with, actually, I was always a huge Kevin Nash fan, and he does indie shows. He's around time, every now and then. I'd love to have a chance to get around with Kevin Nash. It would be kind of like a 11-year-old kid's kind of dream come true.
That'd actually be pretty awesome. Big Sexy against Sean Burke at any wrestling show. It doesn't even have to be NECW. But like we were talking about before when I was talking to you over Facebook a couple of weeks ago, you said you will not be on the next NECW show this upcoming Saturday night on November 1st. But you do have other stuff kind of going on at the moment. So kind of talk a little bit about what you've got going on, what you aspire to do in the future going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, actually, I've got a kind of a big couple of months coming up that I'm very excited about. A couple of things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you mentioned, I won't be on the next NECW show, and I won't be. There's another one in November that I won't be on either. But on November 7th, I will be working with Tommy Dreamer. at Top Rope Promotions, which is another New England company. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about that. It's the first time I've had a chance to get in the ring with him. After that, November 14th, I am on a show for Big Time Wrestling at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, which used to be the Springfield Civic Center, which is kind of a big deal for me because that's the building that I always went and watched wrestling at with my grandfather when I was a little kid, and I watched Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and all my favorites there. Mm-hmm. So it's a show for Big Time Wrestling. It's kind of a big deal. They got Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat on it. The Patriot and Brian Christopher and Scotty Duhati are also on the show. So those are kind of the headline attractions on there. And somewhere down in the card, you will find me. So I'm very excited about that. That's on November 14th. I also, it's maybe a little known fact at this point, are you guys familiar with Shakara?
With Shakara?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, yep.
So I am a member of the Devastation Corporation in Shakara. I actually double as Flex Rumble Crunch.
Really?
Yes. So we just won the King of Trios tournament at the end of September. We had a couple shows in Massachusetts. We have one show in Massachusetts coming up on November 15th in Haverhill. On November 16th, we are in East Windsor, Connecticut. And then at the beginning of December, we have a show at the old ECW Arena down in Philly. So that's pretty excited about that. That's going to be a really cool building to be able to work in.
So Shakara, talk a little bit about that. How did that opportunity come up? How long have you been competing for Shakara?
Yeah, Sidney Bacabella was our manager, and Max Smashmaster, one of my tag team partners, were both guys that I knew from previous things that I had done. And that Devastation Corporation started out as a tag team, but there was kind of a desire to turn it into a trio, and they needed another big guy. So they knew me. They reached out to me, and it really kind of snowballed from there. I did a lot of stuff kind of on and off. I wasn't necessarily, at first, like I said, it was kind of a tag team gimmick, so they would bring me in when they kind of needed the third guy for this, that, or the other thing. And it really kind of picked up, I want to say, in the last couple of months, right before King of Trios, through King of Trios, where I've been a very steady member of the roster. So pretty excited. I mean, certainly a different type of environment there. I've always been kind of the old school NWA, Magnum TA, and that kind of wrestling is really what I love. Shakara certainly is a completely different animal. Much different, a lot more comedy and things like that there. But it's been a very interesting and ride, and it's really kind of helping me, broaden some of the things that I do.
Shakara's, I just want to say, Shakara's a very interesting company. I mean, like you said before, I had no idea that you worked for Shakara at one point. That's really, really cool. I think that's kind of a company that kind of goes under the radar more often than not. That's a company for one to watch out for. I think they have a lot of potential, a lot of great talent like yourself over on their roster. So it's cool they've got that thing going on for you as well, in addition to the matches with Tommy Dreamer and Big Time Wrestling, Over the Top Rope Wrestling as well. So a big month for you coming up. But where can the fans find you on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or any websites where people can find where your upcoming matches are or anything like that?
It's really just Facebook. I'm a really kind of old school person. I have trouble working the computer. So I haven't got myself on the Twitter yet. I'm probably going to have to do that soon. But right now it's just Facebook, just Sean Burke, and you'll find anything I got coming up, whether it's, like you said, whether it's NECW or it's Chaotic Wrestling, which is pretty much kind of my home base at this point, or Chikara, or any of those other companies that I have coming up. I will put that kind of stuff on there and let people know where I'm going to be.
Excellent, man. Thanks again for coming on. We had an awesome interview. Great talking to you. And hopefully we can catch up with you soon, hopefully at one of the upcoming shows here in Massachusetts or one of the NECW shows. And you said you won't be on the shows in November, but one of the shows hopefully in December or so. So thanks again, man, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Had fun.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
All right. See ya.
Thanks again for Sean for coming on and for a great interview. Really appreciated that. Long time in the making, so it's great to finally have him on. Big fan of his over on NECW. And like I've said a number of times, you and I have talked about this at length. They got to bring you to one of these shows these one days. It's not here in Beverly anymore, unfortunately. It's over in Everett, Massachusetts. But definitely have to take another trip over there. They're a great organization, if only just to see Sean wrestle. He's awesome. But a big week in professional wrestling this week. We had Hell in a Cell, Monday Night Raw, and so much more going on. So, RJ, what are your thoughts on this past week in wrestling? I mean, before we get any specifics, what's going on with you?
I think.
Where's the mind at right now?
It's starting to turn up a little bit. I thought Hell in a Cell was better than it usually was. there's some spots, obviously, that very controversial. But thought Raw was pretty good. New, fresh feuds and fresher material. So I feel like hopefully they're finally going to take Survivor serious for once, which they haven't done in the last couple of years. But maybe with these new feuds and stuff like that, they can get a nice Survivor Series show going again.
Hopefully. I mean, I like you just said, Survivor Series has been overlooked for far too long. I struggle to figure out when the last time Survivor Series was really taken seriously, because the last couple of shows haven't been great. I know the 2011 show is pretty good because that was the show that they brought in The Rock for, and they had a number of good matches on that show. But aside from that, they really have not taken that event seriously enough, which is a shame too, because it's one of the big 4 pay-per-views, And like we said before, that should be a pay-per-view. If there's any one pay-per-view they can bring in Brock Lesnar for, it should be that one to defend his championship. But as we learned last night on Raw, they're holding the big multi-man traditional tag team match in the main event of this year's Survivor Series show, which is great because I can't remember the last time that was actually the case. But that should be pretty cool. But even so, though, Hell in a Cell on Sunday night, we'll get to that in just a second. But speaking of pay-per-view, I don't know if you heard or not, probably did. Elimination Chamber is seemingly no more, being replaced by a new pay-per-view called WWE Fastlane. Not a fan of that whatsoever. That's even worse than the limit.
There's 2 of them. There's Fastlane or Fast Speed or... I don't know. I saw 2 different names. There's Fastlane or Highway.
Something like that.
Something with the speed or something.
Whatever it's going to be dumb. But someone pointed out that it makes sense, I guess.
It could, it's like after the fast lane to WrestleMania.
Exactly. It's the road to WrestleMania. So I kind of understand that. It could be a little more creative, I don't know, No Way Out or something, but I don't know.
I don't mind, I don't mind, Battlegrounds or, Payback.
That's not bad. Payback is okay. I mean, Backlash sounds cooler, but even so, I guess Elimination Chamber is just Elimination Chamber. Hell in a Cell.
They're going to change TLC too, then?
TLC. I don't know if they're going to change TLC. Hopefully, with Elimination Chamber being gone, hopefully, it's pretty much confirmed at this point. I mean, it's not 100% confirmed, but it's pretty much.
Are they still going to have the Chamber match, or is that just?
Well, that's the thing. I think the Chamber match is going to be staying, but what the thing is that they're going to only hold it when necessary. So they're going to hold it whenever they need to. This is what should be the case with Hell in a Cell, and we talked about this last week. But Hell in a Cell should only appear when necessary. Like Ambrose and Rollins, if they said, we're going to settle the score inside Hell in a Cell, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Bringing it out of nowhere. It's there's Hell in a Cell in this match this month. Let's, just throw 2 guys that have faced each other a million times before, like Randy Orton and John Cena in there. That was a good matchup. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, but when would you have, 6 guys, necessarily participate in Elimination Chamber, though?
I'm thinking, what I read was that they're moving that pay-per-view to the summer. I'm hoping that they keep that match you keep it around at different intervals of the year. I don't have the list of Elimination Chamber matches in front of me, but I know there was one 02, obviously Survivor Series,
and then 03 was
SummerSlam. 04, I don't even know if they had one.
New Year's Revolution.
Oh yeah,
New Year's Revolution 2 years in a row.
Yeah. That was the gimmick for that pay-per-view.
They had it in January. It was right before Royal Rumble, which kind of. That's when they were had 14 pay-per-views a year.
Yep. And then they moved it to No Way Out and then Elimination Chamber. So, but like we said last week, though, Elimination Chamber has never really meant anything because, like you said, the last time someone won a championship inside the chamber was 2010. That's 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
It's just because it's where it's put.
Exactly.
They're not going to change.
Right
usually
before
WrestleMania, it's a month before, so what's the point?
Exactly.
Before SummerSlam and Survivor Series, a couple months before, they can storyline change it, but
yeah,
like I said, the only time they changed it was when Jericho won it because Undertaker got screwed by Michaels. But besides that, it hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, exactly. So
or
that
you could count Edge cashing it in.
Oh, you mean back in 05, 06? No, that was after the match too.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, it's probably been retained more times than it's actually changed hands inside the chamber, which is interesting because it should not be that way with 6-on-1, a 5-on-1 advantage. But whatever else, are you a fan of the concept being done away with, or do you want to see it stick around as a pay-per-view and later this year, or what are your thoughts on it?
I like the chamber. It kind of got sucky since the whole PG shit, but
yeah,
I don't like it before WrestleMania either. I don't mind if it's they change where Battleground and this new one's gonna be Battleground before, or any preview before that's not
Money in the Bank, I think, before SummerSlam was great, so I don't really know why they changed it. And I don't mind it in June, but I thought it was great in July. I thought it was perfect right before SummerSlam, and they had to change it. But where do you think, if they do move it to another place on the schedule, where do you see it going? July, June, maybe May?
Maybe, like you said, probably those months. It wouldn't be later in the month, I think. Because then... They'd have to change like Payback, Battlegrounds, or Money in the Bank. It'd probably be Payback or Battlegrounds they would change it with.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Battleground. The name itself was fine, but the pay-per-view the last couple of years has not been great.
I didn't mind Battleground this year.
No, I didn't mind it. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the first one was terrible, but the second one wasn't that bad. But yeah, like you said, the placement though is what makes it a little mediocre because it's right before SummerSlam. You know it's going to happen and all that kind of stuff. So the pay-per-view right before SummerSlam is never really all that awesome, unless it's like Money in the Bank. So the fact they changed that, I'm not mad with it, but I thought it was better in July. But even so, the Elimination Chamber match will be sticking around, even though the pay-per-view will be moving from that spot in February. It will be sticking around in some capacity later on in the year. That being said, that we had Hell in a Cell on Sunday night. Overall, I thought it was a good show. I didn't think it was a great show, but there was some good action. There were some awesome main events. We had Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, some great spots there. Randy Orton and John Cena having a better match than expected, and some other really good matches on the undercard too. Nothing exciting, no title changes, and that's probably for the better because we've seen so many title changes recently that it wouldn't have meant anything. But that being said, though, what were your overall thoughts of Hell in a Cell on Sunday night?
I thought Hell in a Cell was decent. I wasn't going in expecting anything too amazing, so it probably met my expectations of how the show was going to go. I feel like all the matches were pretty good. I was actually pretty impressed with the Diva matches. I thought the Divas both matches actually had some good action. It wasn't just crappy like it usually is. So I was kind of
That was a lot better match than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I thought both of them were really good.
AJ and Paige was a decent match. I mean, they could be given more time to have a great match, but Nikki and Brie, I think, really surprised me. They actually had a good match,
yeah. And then
I don't care for the story, but the match itself was
the Rusev match was all right, too. The Rusev match actually wasn't that bad. And then, I don't know. I wasn't really happy with the end of how the main event was, but that's just me.
We'll talk about that now. Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt are set to feud going forward. Few questions here. Do you agree with who went over? Well, actually, yeah, like a number of questions. Do you agree that Seth Rollins went over? 2, do you think the finish of that matchup kind of hindered what else happened before it? And 3, what are your expectations for Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt going forward?
So, I think I picked Dean Ambrose, right? I think I picked Dean Ambrose last week.
I think we both did. I definitely said Dean Ambrose.
So, I don't know. The whole thing about this match was I feel like, I don't know, they were like trying, I felt like they trying too hard to make spots when they really wasn't necessary. Like the beginning of the match was kind of stupid how he was up on top of the cage and they sent Mercury and Noble to get him. Then they started having that little crap. Then they wicked oversold them falling off the cage. The stretcher and shit kind of dragged the match on. Yeah. I feel like once they got back in the ring, obviously picked up again. And then, so I wasn't pissed Seth Rollins won. I'm not going to be oh, night's ruined, Seth Rollins won. I like Seth Rollins, so.
Yeah.
That one was I just thought Dean Ambrose should have got over because he hasn't got over yet. But I think, if Dean Ambrose just won the match or Seth Rollins just won upright and then the whole Bray Wyatt stuff happened, it would have been fine. But I feel like it just, another pay-per-view that they kind of, ruined at the end with some, little, staticky, kind of, BS shit that, they did the same thing at Extreme Rules, like the Cena stuff.
Oh, that was garbage.
That was just I love Bray Wyatt, but I just have Ambrose win first, then do the stuff. I feel like it kind of just it doesn't end the Rollins and Dean Ambrose feud, but then just because he screwed Ambrose over, why wouldn't Ambrose still not hate Rollins? I don't know, kind of that feud's still up in the air.
That's what I mean.
Start another one.
Yeah.
They should just ended that with a clean winner and then had the next one come on. Obviously they're gonna have more Ambrose and Rollins matches, but
that's probably why.
I just think it just tainted. It just tainted by how the finisher really was. I'd rather see Ambrose win clean, or just win in general, and then they do the whole Wyatt thing. I thought the hologram thing actually was kind of cool, and I don't know what the hell he was saying. I have no idea.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to
that.
But
it just I don't know. I like him, but just the way that it kind of brought it back, and then having him last night just cutting a promo, kind of didn't really do anything for the feud. It was just okay, cut another promo. They've been showing vignettes for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He attacked Ambrose, but now he's not on TV. So the whole feud's kind of up in the air right now. So I'm not really mad. I just wish they gave us a true main event, which they haven't done even on Raw or even clean. They haven't given us a clean finish in a while. So. No champions it wasn't, and SummerSlam it was.
Brock Lesnar dominated Cena.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. Like you said, there was a couple, the last couple of Raws has been all DQs. Even last night was a DQ.
I hate it. And it's always Kane too. It's always Kane. It's always Corbin.
So I don't care I didn't care that Seth Rollins won, but I just wish they
the way it was booked.
They just need to be more creative.
I was going to ask you before how you would have booked it, but you just said you would have had Dean Ambrose go over clean. So my 2 cents on this is that I didn't really mind the finish. I didn't hate it like some people did. I thought it was okay. It was a fine way to kick off the Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt feud, which I think could be great. And I stress could. I'm not going to say will be great, because we said the same thing about Jericho and Wyatt, and the only reason, I'm not going to say it bombed, it wasn't really as great as it could have been, because one, WWE, they limited in what they could do and say in a lot of their matches and whatnot. And then they weren't really given a lot of creative freedom with what they could do. And Wyatt, I mean, the way that he was booked at points was a little bit weird and whatever else. So I'll say this. The Wyatt and Ambrose feud has potential to be great with the promos, the matches, and whatever else. The psychotic nature of both characters that I think could make for a very interesting dynamic. I thought we could see this match at WrestleMania, but maybe they have other plans for Dean Ambrose. They probably have no idea what they're doing with Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania at this point in time. But even still, though, I think it could be a very good feud. It has the potential to be, but how WWE handles it and how they book it is a whole other thing. So, 2 things here. The finish of the pay-per-view itself, I was fine with. I didn't really mind, and it saves Ambrose and Rollins, the clean finish to that feud for another day. I understand that we didn't get a clean finish to the pay-per-view for like the 2nd month in a row, and that does kind of anger me a little bit. We had the same thing last year, so I'm really hoping that's not the case at Survivor Series. But the thing with the Wyatt and Ambrose feud that concerns me the most is that Wyatt's back. He's looking great after all those vignettes. He's looking, rejuvenated and whatnot. The Wyatt family, or Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, are nowhere to be seen, so I don't know what the deal is with them. But the thing with Ambrose and Wyatt, and like you just said, you wanted to see Dean Ambrose win. So the thing is with Wyatt and Ambrose is that both guys need victories. The thing with Jericho and Wyatt was that Jericho never really needed to win. He had that one win at Battleground, but that kind of established him or reestablished him as like a threat to Wyatt.
Exactly.
The thing with Wyatt and Ambrose is that Ambrose hasn't won a match on pay-per-view since like Payback when he beat Evolution. That wasn't even on his own. Wyatt hasn't, he beat Jericho at SummerSlam, but he's been so damaged since that point in time with the whole Cena crap and whatever else. Wyatt needs a win too.
Exactly. Like the Rollins thing, he can afford to lose, so he's still winning the big championship.
Exactly.
Like that's like a champion can always afford to lose eventually because they have the title still. But like you said, these are 2 guys that are up and coming, and they both need wins.
Yeah. So
I feel like if Ambrose kept losing, I feel like people would just get mad. I don't think it would kill his credibility. I feel like Wyatt kept losing, people would be like, "This guy fucking sucks."
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think there's really 2 ways about it. I mean, you can make the argument that, like, with Daniel Bryan, when he lost all those matches for months on end last year, and granted, that wasn't really the plan to have a main event at WrestleMania. I think Jericho said himself a couple weeks ago, he was supposed to face Sheamus at that show, and the only reason why he didn't was because Punk left, and that changed plans drastically. But even so, though, I think with Daniel Bryan, he lost so many matches that people just start to think he's a loser. But in the end, though, it made that big win at WrestleMania mean that much more. That being said, if you have someone lose for so long, they will start to perceive that person as a loser. So it really could be hit or miss, and I'm really hoping with Dean Ambrose that's not the case. What they're building him up to, I have no idea. I don't see him going after the championship at any point in the near future. I don't see Ambrose versus Lesnar being a possibility. I think Roman Reigns will be the guy to take the title off of him. There's really no one else that comes to mind, especially not John Cena. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm just interested to see how this feud goes. I think it could be great, but both guys need wins. So if they have a one-on-one match at Survivor Series, maybe they do a brawl like they did with Ambrose and Rollins a couple times. At Battleground they did it, or maybe it's a double DQ, or whatever the hell they do. Maybe it's a DQ finish.
Street fight or something.
Exactly.
I think it's something good. They can't just have a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
Like Ambrose and Wyatt would have a good, hardcore. Well, I can't do hardcore because they don't do that. Extreme Rules match.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Street
Extreme
fight
Rules. Yeah, give me a
that.
break. But it's good timing, too, though, because the feud kicks off now that maybe we could see this culminate at TLC in a tables match or something.
Or
weird
TLC
like
match alone, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever, because if Lesnar's not going to be on the show, I don't know.
I was going to say, also if you do a hardcore match, you can just make Wyatt lose and look strong, or Ambrose lose and look strong still.
Exactly, because they don't have to be
in
pinned.
a one-on-one match, if you're pinned or tap out,
it makes you look weak. Yeah, exactly. So I think they could get away with having a tables match and having Wyatt lose there or Ambrose lose there, whatever. But I still look forward to the feud, and hopefully they can build upon that. Because like you said, the promo last night, there was nothing wrong with the promo, but that was the biggest talking point coming out of Hell in a Cell. This is going to be great, or that finish shouldn't have happened, or whatever. But people are talking about Bray Wyatt. And then the next night on Raw, it's kind of like an afterthought. With everything else that happened with the main event and Randy Orton, even Ryback, more people were talking about than Bray Wyatt. And it's unfortunate because I think that feud really does have potential. So hopefully they can rebound it with that next week on Raw. But like I said before, Randy Orton and John Cena, I want to get your thoughts on their Hell in a Cell match on Sunday night. I had some people like John, at Heel by Design on Twitter, he was tweeting me saying that was like the worst match he's ever seen, but I thought it was a pretty good matchup. So a lot of people who were of two minds of that matchup, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So what were your expectations for it, and do you think they exceeded those expectations on Sunday night?
I thought it was just like another Randy Orton Cena match, nothing too special. They kind of do like the same spots a lot, like this, like they do this like consecutive finisher spots. Like they like hit some of the finisher early in the match, kicks out, and then the table spot at the end was kind of good. I was kind of hoping Orton did it, but it's what it is. Cena's fucking Cena wins again as usual.
Da, 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 da.
Oh my god! If that's like a ringtone that people should like have to wake up in the morning because they just want to shut that shit off. But I don't know. Just like another Cena. Nothing really special with the cage. They didn't really use the cell that much for its.
They used the tables and some chairs.
Exactly.
Maybe
Maybe it should have been a TLC match, but
yeah.
It was what it was. I'm not gonna say it was one of the worst matches ever. It just was the Hell in a Cell match I kind of predicted it was gonna be. Just kind of another Cena match. So it's like if you've seen it so many times, you kind of know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Cena Orton part like a million. Yeah, you
exactly.
know what's gonna happen.
And it had not the ramifications of the match wasn't really that big of a deal. I kind of had a gut feeling Cena was gonna win anyways.
Yeah.
And then when he did the FU through the table, I was like, whatever. So it is what it is. It wasn't the worst match ever, but it wasn't the best match ever.
Like we said last week, I think it was pretty predictable that Cena was going to win. I just had a small shred of hope that Orton was going to win, and he didn't. And I still think that's a mistake because that could have built upon... Well, I mean, I'll look at it this way because they wanted to build upon that in the sense that Rollins won his match and Orton lost his. So he has that over Orton. I get that, but... in the long scheme of things, if you look at it, we're getting Cena versus Lesnar. There's no way around it. Someone asked me, could we see a triple threat match between Orton, Cena, and Lesnar? But then how do you really get Orton back in that title match if he lost last night or on Sunday night? So I don't know how they work around that to get to that matchup, and I don't really want to see that. I would like to see that matchup, but... because
the only way I could see that happening is if like they have him like... if you beat Seth Rollins, you can get in the match. Yeah. Then that looked bad for Seth Rollins because he's got beaten so long.
Yeah, exactly.
He's another guy that's kind of like they're really protecting right now. I like him, but I feel like they're just like he's like the Roman Reigns right now. They can't lose.
Yeah, because he's like the only top
once in a while. Like it's just like ridiculous.
Yeah. With Rollins though, I think it's smart that they're doing that because he's the only real heel that they have right now. Exactly. With Randy Orton in the process of turning. Kane is
Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt too, and he's coming back as well. So, and I think right now, actually, we'll talk a little bit about this. I think the depth of the roster is not great. I'm not going to go it's bad from one week and great to the next. They're starting to build upon it again, I think. With Wyatt being back, they've got Ambrose and Rollins. Orton's starting to mean something again. I'm really excited for where Orton is going, and I'll ask you when he's actually going to turn in just a second, but... even with Ryback, even if he's just a mid-card act, at least it's another body on the roster. Dolph Ziggler, in a way, was not really involved in the main event last week, but at least he's kind of getting involved with something new. You know what I mean? Like, he had a match with Kane in the mid-main event and wasn't in the opening match for the millionth time. So I'm liking that Ziggler is kind of getting that extra push, because I think we talked about this before, was that with Ziggler, with Brock Lesnar being gone, Dolph Ziggler is the de facto...
he's pretty much the WWE champion right now.
Exactly. He's the number one guy, essentially, on paper. So I'm glad he's kind of getting this push. I'm not really going to call it a push, but the association with Cena should be, help him in the long run. And if he's going to be involved in the main event of Survivor Series on Team Cena, it's only going to benefit him. So I'm going to ask you right now, we talked about this before, but when do you see the official Randy Orton babyface turn and like being cemented? At what point do you
Survivor
see
Survivor Series.
In his hometown of St. Louis.
He's going to be on Team Authority, and he's going to screw with Seth Rollins.
So I was going to ask you that before. Someone told me that last night. Or a lot of people were speculating that Orton was going to be the final member of Team John Cena, but for some reason I feel like that's going to take away from it. I feel like you need to have him a part of Team Authority, because as of right now, he's still part of the Authority. Exactly. You can have him turn on the Authority, like you just said, on Rollins or whoever, to a major pop from that crowd in his hometown. Like, it's going to make for a great moment if they do it correctly. So you think in Survivor Series? That's what I thought too. So we mentioned before, Team Cena versus Team Authority. And this is the matchup I thought we were going to get last year with the Authority when they first started getting going. But then we got a random elimination match instead, and we got Big Show versus Randy Orton in the main event. So with the champion being gone, at least we get that opportunity to get a real Survivor Series match, because we haven't gotten one in years. So as of right now, Team Authority, nothing's been confirmed. It's just Team Cena versus Team Authority. So Team Authority, I'm thinking... Actually, I'll get your predictions first. Who do you think is going to be on each team? 5 on 5.
5 on 5. I would say Team Authority. I would say Seth Rollins, Kane, Orton, and the Dust Brothers. And then on Cena, it'd be Cena, Dolph Ziggler, Usos. Shit.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Put another guy now.
I'm thinking that someone's going to make a return or something. I'm thinking either Ryback or someone else comes back.
Ryback in that.
Roman Reigns.
No.
I think it might be too soon. I don't think he's ready.
If Daniel Bryan is ready by Devin, he's ready.
That'd be amazing.
Sheamus, maybe?
That's what I was thinking.
I'm trying to think of another babyface. So maybe, but the thing is, if you have Sheamus and Ziggler in it, and the Dust Brothers, then there's no title match left.
Yeah, exactly. You guys no world champion. There's like a Divas title match. That's it.
I think.
That's one of your biggest shows of the year.
They might put like a couple scrubs in it just to try to but.
That was my exact card too for who's going to be on each team. But then I thought of it, and someone mentioned this on Twitter last night, was that instead of the Dust Brothers, you have Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble instead.
Yeah.
So I see that the team.
Yeah. I could see that too. Now that you said that, I was like, who else could be heels?
They fill up the two spots.
Noble and Mercury.
So Usos and Ziggler make sense because Usos and Cena have always been tight. Ziggler was kind of teased last night. Who's going to be that fifth guy? It's not going to be Orton. Orton's going to be on Team Authority. He'll turn on them. Ambrose and Wyatt are going to do something. I'm trying to think of who can return. I'm trying to think
like another beat. The thing is, you're saying the roster's so deep, but it's.
No, I'm not saying it's deep. It's getting better.
It's getting better, but I'm just trying to think, Big Show? No, the Mark Henry will do something, but I don't want to see that again.
That was at Survivor Series a couple of years ago. Same exact pay-per-view.
I'm trying to think.
Sheamus. That's what I'm saying. Ryback is the only guy that comes to mind.
I just don't think anyone would care if Ryback. He has nothing to do with any of it, so I don't know why he'd be in it.
Yeah.
Ziggler, Usos, and all of them would have,
Usos make sense.
Usos always have been with Cena, so I could easily see that.
Ziggler was teased last night. And Ziggler was actually against the Authority when they first got started. Remember they were facing the Shield like a million times?
I'm going to look at the roster right now.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Sheamus is the only one that makes sense, but...
Big E?
Yeah, Big E. Who else is on the roster right now that would make sense? I don't know. I'm just thinking Ryback because there's no one else that makes sense right now. But, you can't find anyone?
Maybe a babyface Cesaro.
Oh, yeah, dude. That'd be awesome if they turned him. They're doing a lot of turns recently with Randy Orton, Ryback, now Mark Henry.
Jack Swagger's on the babyface, even though I wouldn't want to see him in it.
Yeah, I mean,
Kofi Kingston you could do, probably. I'm not saying he's the best guy, but they would easily put him in the match.
They would, yeah.
Now that I see it, I could so see him putting Kofi Kingston in it.
Kofi Kingston or, who did you mention before? Cesaro, yeah. If they turned him babyface, that'd be awesome. But Jack Swagger.
Jack Swagger, can I say too?
He's lower on the totem pole, but I don't know. Big Show and Mark Henry is another match that we could see at that pay-per-view. So, what are your thoughts? Even though it could be seen coming from a mile away, what are your thoughts on a heel Mark Henry or Mark Henry turning heel last night on Raw, and the potential feud with Big Show?
Care less.
Couldn't care less.
We've already seen before. Before it had a meaning, now it has zero meaning. Before it was the title, now it's
at least it was over the World Heavyweight
Championship. It's just because they couldn't beat Rusev, so they just fight each other now, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's a feud, but I don't care. There's no reason that people should be talking about Mark Henry and the Big Show in 2014 as a big match. I don't know. I don't get it. They shouldn't have been. I don't know. It's just another. I guess it's just something to do. Fill up the card, but that's all it really is.
The only saving grace of this that I thought of was that Mark Henry is better as a heel, but there's really not much for him to do in 2014. Big Show, there is nothing for him to do. I just couldn't care less for the Big Show, and that's just being biased because I'm not a Big Show fan. But like you said, we've seen the feud before. We just saw it 3 years ago over the World Heavyweight Championship, and now there's no meaning to it. The matches were not great. So I don't really know what they do with that feud going into Survivor Series. They'll easily have a match, so I mean that's pretty much confirmed at this point. But another thing that happened last night on Raw, Ryback is back, and being the big fan of Ryback that I am, and I know you're not a big Ryback fan, he is back as a baby face, doing his Feed Me More shtick. So that being said, what were your thoughts on the Ryback return? Feed Me More, the big guy is back.
Literally, right when they said it was open challenge, I knew it was going to be Ryback. I was like, it's got to be a face. It's got to be someone not too big for Bo Dallas. I'm like, I guarantee it's Ryback. And then they're at the Feed Me More. I'm like, yep.
Feed Me More is back.
I don't know. It's nothing. I don't really have anything against him. It's more the fact of how much he was pushed for how much he really is good and is over and all that stuff. He went from not even doing good in NXT to becoming main event and after he debuted that couple months. It's kind of like when they pushed a guy that didn't deserve to be pushed that far. And
It all goes back to what we've talked about before, pushing a guy way too quick.
And he never had a title. It's like that guy that never had a title. Like that's why it's kind of in like that like state of he needs a title.
Yeah, exactly. Like a proper build-up.
He
Yeah, exactly. Tag team, mid-card. It's not the same anymore. But that being said, that he went from like beating like Jinder Mahal one week to like facing CM Punk in the main event. Like, could have Ryback been a big-time player at one point? Maybe. But the fact they put him right in the main event at a bad time, too, because Punk couldn't lose that title. He had to lose it to The Rock, so Ryback had to lose. But they continued to make him lose and lose and lose, and it got to the point that it was ridiculous. And then turning him heel was like the final nail in the coffin because the guy was so over that you take away the Feed Me More chant. The guy's not good for anything. You know what I mean? I'm a big Ryback fan, but he's not the best in-ring technician, and on his own as a heel, he's just not good. And the thing with Axel wasn't all that entertaining either. I know it was another tag team in the division, but you can only witness so many Dust Brothers versus Ryback matches, you know what I mean? The whole pairing with Paul Heyman was an absolute bust. That was a waste of time because he jobbed out to CM Punk like every 2 minutes. So, like every single time they faced off, CM Punk would win every single match. So, I'm glad that he's back. Is he going to be a world champion? Probably not. But I'm glad that he's back as a babyface because at a time that we need roster depth, it's another body that we can have on the roster, regardless of who he faces. They'll probably continue to feed him jobbers for the next couple of weeks, like Bo Dallas, Fandango. Where's Fandango been? The guy's been off TV forever. But Ryback, though, I'm very happy that he's back and as a babyface because that's where he shines the most. And I do think there is some untapped potential there with the big guy as a babyface. Feed me more. So, with that being said, he was not on the show last night. Conspicuous by his absence, Rusev. Where do you see his next feud being? Who do you see it being with?
Probably Ryback. I was thinking Ryback because I was like, who...
I thought that's where he's going to return in a segment like with Rusev saying, oh, we need more challengers. Ryback would come out, boom, right there. But maybe they do that next week. I don't know.
I don't know, but I feel like he won't. I don't know. I could see him being the Authority match for some reason, like being under them, but I don't know. They need to do something with him. He's kind of getting to that point. He's just stale. It's like I don't hate him. I just hate the direction they're putting him in. Like he's kind of like
because where
he's not jobbing people out. He's just having matches with like guys that.
You don't care about.
I know he's going to beat, and the guys I just don't care about. Like, he's beating Mark Henry, Jack Swagger, Big Show, Biggie. Like, guys I just don't have any care at all. He's pretty much beating all the lower-end baby faces right now. Ryback would probably be the next line of those baby faces. And then, because after them, that's when you start going to, like, the top guys, and I don't think he's ready for that. And then if he goes over on Cena, then, like, you kind of have to give him a title shot. And then, do you see Rusev as WWE champion? No.
I don't see him being world champion material, but I could see him contending against like a Roman Reigns or something like that. But the thing is that, like you said, if he beats Cena, and I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be another Bray Wyatt case where they build the guy up over the course of a year, have him face John Cena at WrestleMania, John Cena wins, and Rusev is dead in the water. Because after the undefeated streak is broken, like with Ryback, the guy was over, and Rusev is slowly getting more and more over as a heel. That once you take that streak away, there has to be something there.
The only thing that Rusev has going for him is that he has a mouthpiece.
And Lana, yeah, she's great.
He's pretty much in the same situation that Kozlov was in. Kozlov didn't have a mouthpiece, so it kind of killed his character. Yeah. Obviously, if you can't speak English or talk for yourself, no one's gonna like you or get over on you.
You're done, yeah.
Exactly. She actually helps him and like builds heat on him. Like I said, like. He needs a stepping stone before he gets to the main event. Like, you can't just go from Survivor Series beating Ryback to Cena. Like, they need, like, to make these titles, like, he needs, like, win something. Like, there's too many guys nowadays that there's... Bray Wyatt's a perfect example. Like, goes from fighting Daniel Bryan, The Shield, and Cena. And then, no, like, beat Kane. 2013 people, Kane. Well, he's big now somehow. I don't know. Kane to Daniel Bryan to The Shield to Cena, and then... Cena, Jericho, buried off TV,
yeah.
And now he's back in Dean Ambrose. Like, he's facing big people, but it's like, he has no credibility. He's a good wrestler and stuff like that, but like...
And no championships.
But like, think of a guy like Daniel Bryan. He actually like won a couple championships, and then he got like to the main... Like, Ziggler's a perfect example of that too. Like, you have to win something to prove that you have some credibility, then make it. No one's going to think that, oh, Rusev's WWE champion because he beat someone. Like, you have to have like something behind him, and... I don't hate Rusev. I actually kind of like started to like him a little bit because I feel like he's kind of doing what he's got to do. It's not his fault what spot he's at, but I don't know. I feel like they need to do something different with him or something new. Like this whole like United States versus America crap's kind of getting old.
I think they're thinking short term, not too short term. It's not like they haven't started feuding with Cena months ago, and they are building him up the right way. But the thing is that like you said, they should kind of build him up from jobber, and they did. I mean, they built him. They gave him jobbers, and then a mid carder, then Big Show and Mark Henry. But then after you face John Cena, like with Bray Wyatt, where do you go from there?
Exactly. That's why you can't rush
at WrestleMania too. Yeah, exactly. You can't go back on that. So, but I think if it's not going to be Ryback, they'll probably continue to build up Ryback because I don't think they're going to build him up only to have him lose to Rusev in like a month. What I was thinking that what they'll probably do is have his next feud be with Sheamus over the United States Championship. Have him take that title from him because God knows Rusev or Sheamus is not doing anything with that championship. Is it going to do anything with Rusev? Probably not. But I mean, it makes sense.
Gain some.
Yeah, and it makes sense in the course of the storyline, but in the sense that. If he takes that title from the United States, some real American's going to want to win that title back from him. Is it going to be John Cena? Probably not. But
like John Cena, United States champion, would never fly right now.
No, in 2014 or 2015, probably not. But at least, that could keep him in the mid-card for a while. It would prevent him from going against John Cena next year at WrestleMania. Kurt Angle think it'd be great, but again, that's not happening. I think I read today that he signed back with TNA. Not official yet, but it just makes me sad to read that because I really want to see Angle back in WWE. I do think he will be back at one point for a Hall of Fame induction, but as an active competitor, it looks like those days are officially gone, which really sucks. But that being said, though, we got Rusev and Sheamus for the United States Championship. What else is going on right now in WWE?
Tag team titles are sad right now.
I want to talk about that real quick.
There's no tag teams.
Jeff Stone made a bold claim to you the other day that the Dust Brothers were buried the Usos at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Now, can you defend that statement, or do you agree with that, or do you think it's just him?
He just says stuff all the time. He was like, "Oh, the Usos lost again. They're getting buried," and then they won. Who did they beat last night? Mizdow. He's like, "Oh, not buried anymore." Like I don't know. I feel like the Usos kind of have like. I don't know, like they still like have their fans, but like they're kind of like lowering down. Their steam's starting to go out. Just like any guy that like starts losing, eventually his steam starts going out. I feel like more tag teams they die down more because you can only fight certain guys. Like even if you're like a mid card guy and you're fighting like decent feuds, it's still like going.
Yeah.
If you're a tag team and lose the titles, then you go titles. You're fighting Los Matadores on Superstar.
Yeah.
So like the fall from high to low is so quick that I feel like they've lost a lot of steam. But like. Besides them, like, there's really no tag teams besides, like, Los Matadores, Slater Gator, like...
They haven't been on TV in forever,
exactly.
Thankfully, but they haven't been on TV.
They're a tag team. Yeah. Like, Miz and Mizdow, I guess they're trying to make a tag team.
Maybe. That's what I thought, too. So I like that fresh matchup that we got last night on Raw, too. The only thing with the Usos, I love the Usos, but I think their biggest problem right now, and someone nailed it right on the head when they were talking to me the other day, is that they're too overexposed. They were in all those six-man tag team matches that we saw week after week after week, that we see the same spots from them in every single matchup.
Yeah, they do like the jump over the top, the I say Uso, you say oh, like the stupid JBL thing.
Yeah, Eruso.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jeff goes, every time he says that, Jeff goes, dude, turn the TV off.
JBL.
Eruso.
JBL. Classic.
God.
But,
like you said, they had got a lot of exposure. Like, they were like with the Wyatt family and Daniel Bryan for a while. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you can't like just like they're always on TV. I don't know. I guess like they're not overexposed, but they just like they just do the same crap all the time, and they like just. I liked how they did Twin Magic though last night. I actually kind of liked that.
Did you really?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny.
Wow. I didn't like that. I think it's more of a heel thing.
It is obviously it's a heel thing, but.
They'll probably start doing it with Miz and Mizdow, which I think would be funny. Yeah, so I look forward to that. It should be pretty humorous. I don't know where they go with Miz and Mizdow, like we talked about last week.
I feel like they could do like...
They can milk that partnership out between Miz and Mizdow for a while.
Who do you have wrestle against the Dust Brothers now for the titles?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. They probably will do like some makeshift tag team, but there's not enough like singles guys to even make a makeshift tag team.
I can't think of any other baby faces besides the Usos.
Like, I guess maybe the Real Americans reunite because Cesaro isn't doing anything right now.
I hope not. Like,
and they broke up, like, earlier this year, so it's not even, like, a couple years down the line, you know? So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I guess they probably won't even defend the titles in the next pay-per-view.
Like I said, they're probably just fighting, like, a traditional match.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
And then you got the Divas title. Probably, like, Paige and Nikki Bella, I could see.
Yeah. Yeah, I see Paige and I see AJ Lee and Nikki with Brie crossing the title.
Yeah. I could actually... I feel like a lot of people say like she's gonna cost her. I could possibly see like a heel turn.
Wait, from Brie?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that last night. Yeah.
And Brie helps Nikki win the title.
Yeah.
Like
it puts an end to the feud.
Exactly.
That's one thing.
And like says like, because then like I guess like you could say in a way like they're saying like it's all about Brie. Like the last couple of years, like she's the one that's actually won like the Divas title. She'd be like, oh, like now it's time for you. Like I can see that.
Yeah.
They need something like fresh. Like,
that's a possibility.
Like
yeah.
instead of like she goes in like the referee's like distracted or something.
It could be where they're going.
Instead of hitting Nikki Bella, she hits AJ. She hits her with like that like backbreaker thing, and she wins. And like, then they go back to like the Twin Magic heel bells again.
Yeah, that's probably where they were best anyway.
Yeah.
But even though I think they could do that, especially with last night. I don't know if it was they made Alicia Fox the babyface or what the deal was with that, because they teased it last night when Paige attacked Alicia after their match with AJ. So maybe that's where they're going with that, and with Alicia going babyface, maybe they make Brie a heel. Like I don't really know how that works, but
the thing is like then. The thing is, like, if we like go over the match that we've gone over so far for Survivor Series, it like there's like no matches on the card.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what you do.
We've had the tag team match, then if we have both the titles in it, and then if we have like, we said this, and if they do put the Dust Brothers in the Authority one, then there'd be no titles besides the Divas Championship. Then you have a Rusev maybe match, and then you have Big Show Mark Henry.
Show Mark Henry, Rusev match, multi-man match, Divas title match.
That's 4.
I'm sorry, Dean Ambrose, Wyatt.
Yeah, that's 5.
I guess you can make 5 matches, but they'll probably make more too. Just have some random matches.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like they need people.
Yeah, they need more people. Come WrestleMania season, hopefully they start to build up the roster again with all the part-timers and whatever.
People too.
Yeah, I think they'll probably start bringing up Sami Zayn or Adrian Neville.
I don't want Adrian Neville on the roster. I feel like he won't be. He's just a guy that'll never succeed. I feel like he's like Tyson Kidd. I feel like.
Yeah, I guess it's a fair comparison. I think he can have some success.
He can have good matches. I'm not gonna say he's not a good wrestler, but just like in this roster, you can't like. He won't be a good mid-card.
He won't make it beyond a certain level.
Exactly.
I think he's a great talent, but he won't make it beyond a certain level. I could see Sami Zayn being like another Daniel Bryan where he breaks the boundaries of being a world champion.
That's why.
He's a great worker. Yeah, I look forward to their match at the next NXT special, though. On December 11th. It's the last...
What's it called?
NXT TakeOver Evolution. That's just going to be called.
Evolution.
Nice name. Yeah, Evolution, exactly. So... that should be pretty cool. But that being said, that's going to close tonight's show. Any other ideas or any other thoughts in the wrestling world before we let you go?
Not really. I don't know. I feel like it's turned to the best. Hopefully Survivor Series is taken serious this year. Hopefully they have fresh feuds, not a DQ finish for the last pay-per-view in a row. Hopefully they do the Wyatt and Dean Ambrose as a street fight or hardcore. Or
just book it properly,
steel cage, or I don't care. It's not a one-on-one match. I just don't see that being good.
No.
And then just hopefully they have just new fresh feuds, and that's all I can really ask for.
I'm excited for where they go from here. I'm not like extremely excited, but I'm more hopeful for the future, for like the foreseeable future, than I was like a month ago. Because like right now we've got the whole Randy Orton thing going on, which I think is great. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Obviously, what they're doing right now with Ambrose and Wyatt, like I said before, has potential, but whether they book it correctly, is another thing to be said. They got that going on. No, you're not a big fan of it, but I'm glad that Ryback's back, and whatever they do with him in the near future, whatever else they got going on right now, there's really nothing that's overly bothering me. Like, I didn't like the Bella storyline. They've kind of peaked it down a little bit. Their match on Sunday was good. I'll give them credit where credit is due. Both of them have improved a lot. And they had a better match. Honestly, they had a better match than Paige and AJ on Sunday night, because Paige and AJ have had a lot of underwhelming matches since this old feud started. I'm hoping that it's over now, because it's dragged on for far too long. But even still, though, like you said before, Survivor Series, if they build it up, could actually mean something this year, and I'm looking forward to it. So that all being said, before we let you go, RJ, the shout-outs.
Oh, my God, shout-outs. Molly, Jeff, Cam, Sush, Jamie, Shannon. If I didn't say it too bad. At Ray, I think, what's my Twitter? At Raymond_Marceau. At Ray Marceau on YouTube. Besides that, at WrestleRant.
Sounds good. Like you just said, at WrestleRant on the Twitter, Facebook, Ram, GSM Matthews. We're here live on 365.com/stations/ECTV73 every Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 Central Time. So with that being said, we'll be back next week with some more Raw talk and much, much more. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have a very happy Halloween, and we'll catch you next week.